What's up,
All right.
everyone? We're figuring out how to collect all of Europot into a single place or something like that.
That's it.
Sounds good.
Can somebody explain the problem to me
I
so
can
that I fully
explain.
understand?
I can explain the problem. It's barely a problem. So
Yeah.
Anita tweeted 2 days ago or three that the world would be better if my friends from Porto and Barcelona and Berlin all lived in the same place.
Yeah.
And I started riffing on this in a private chat, and it went lots of juicy places. So I think there are lots of cool conversation points that I have to sort of introduce. I think I'm less excited about the actual, starting question of, oh, can we collect all of Europot in the same place? I think if you have thoughts about it, I want to hear them, because you mentioned you have actual advice.
Yeah.
But I also want to touch on stuff that's just more related to building scenes in a city.
Yeah. I mean, obviously the advice is completely context dependent, depending on who we're talking about, what they want, like stuff like that. Obviously, the first thing that we should all be skeptical of is the initial claim, like the world would be better if all these people were in the same place. Like, very unlikely that that's true. But let's take somehow this world and be like, okay, yes, the world would be better. Like, we're in a complete coordination failure and equilibrium is bad. Typically, the best thing that you can do is coordinate around a leader at the beginning who you trust to like build a governance structure that you're going to be happy with over time. And given Teapot's already pretty good at decentralizing and federating its governance reasonably, you should just pick like the strongest leader who has the most investment already, and then go to that person. And so my view is like that's probably Rich. Everyone should just go help Rich get everyone in Barcelona or something like that. It's just like just pick one of the people. Ideally, you actively, like whoever's listening to this, you actively and publicly are like, I personally want to live in this other city, but actually, for the sake of coordinating the entire scene, I will be knighted by, let's say, Rich, and am joining the Barcelona scene, and I commit my life to the scene or something like that, very dramatic and silly. I think that creates a kind of like mimetic, like, oh yeah, you are allowed to just like swear fealty to like another leader in the scene and go join their project. Swear fealty being mostly a joke in the sense that Teapot doesn't want to do that anyway. Like, Rich wouldn't want people to swear fealty. Rich would just want people to like hang out. But
I have
do
been
their own
playing
thing.
some Civ 6, and this is very evocative of many things I've recently experienced on my computer screen.
Anyway, but I find the like meta conversation actually probably more exciting, similarly to what you're saying, Sheep.
Yeah.
Although we could keep going down that line of thinking.
I think that was quite spicy. I didn't expect you to say that. And also, my first reaction is no.
Yeah, your first reaction is to keep the tripartite equilibrium or whatever, and it's like, okay, well, you could do that.
Yeah, or just have it my way completely.
Right, totally.
I mean, you brought it up, Sheik, so I think you can, we only have an hour, but you could bring out your points a bit, and then Andrew has more context, and maybe I can also say something, and then everything will be great.
Yeah. Cool. So I have like 3-4 points that I wanted to touch on. I'm gonna choose one, and we're gonna talk about it. So the first one is the one that's best suited for an introduction, but it's not the one I'm most excited about. So, person Y asks, we would be so powerful if we merged. What kind of power? Power for what? And, as framing for the rest of the conversation, I would say something like, personally, I'm oriented to glory and glorious pursuits. So, scientific discovery, miracles of engineering, impactful coordination, world-class art, right? So the true, the good, and the true and the beautiful, and then all this in an environment that supports this kind of work and is sustainable, right? So babies and elders can hang out. So the good, right? And I feel like this is somewhat compatible with the way Fractal talks about things, which is more in terms of civic society and the liberal arts.
Hmm.
But yeah, as framing, we could sort of try thinking on, power for what?
Yeah. I like that idea. Yeah,
Yeah.
it basically, like, in the frame of the original conversation of like, oh, wouldn't it be better if everybody merged in order to become more powerful? It's like, yeah, just everyone come to New York, obviously, right?
Yeah.
So, uh, I think I like the frame. For me, it's not necessarily glory; it's like liberty. Um, and I think I personally like I kind of have the two-stage view, which America encourages you to have, that says something like, you must have a deep allegiance to a pluralism because your values aren't the right ones,
Mhm.
and you must deeply pursue your individual values, or else you aren't individuating yourself in society and contributing to the American project, or whatever, or in this case, like the network project, you could say. So my view is something like the network overall should stand for, and the part of it that I'm building, I guess, should stand for like liberty, freedom, experimentation toward flourishing and toward the good. And of course there are values there. And so like that's the kind of tricky part. It's like, oh well, not freedom to like gamble or whatever, it's like gambling's bad. But and so where does that come from? And I think that comes from like civic society and the liberal arts and like a much more conservative and rooted tradition, because it it kind of scares me a little bit to take too much charge of what those values should be. And then I think me personally, at the like L1 level, I think I'm very much in your camp, Sheik, and it's like glory, yes, glory to God. It just is so much more fun.
What's the L1 level?
Or it's like L1 and L2 is something like L1 is the actual concrete projects themselves that I will be leading. So for instance, I see Fractal Tech as one of these, where Fractal Tech is a corporation that I manage that has some concrete corporate purpose. And then I see Fractal itself as like an L2. Fractal is not even a corporation. There is no entity there. And it's much more of like a protocol that people can use to build all sorts of stuff. In that sense, Fractal is like Teapot is also in this like L2 camp, so to speak. Teapot is like a aggregating word, and the word itself acts as a Schelling point, or like aggregating idea, and the idea itself acts as a Schelling point. So you have kind of like those things which we should aspire to as a whole, and then those things that I individually and maybe my parts of the whole should aspire to contribute to the whole, so to speak.
Thanks.
Anyway, Sheik, I'm curious, do you roughly agree with that, or are you like, even for the whole, it should be glory?
No. I think,
Yeah, I figured.
yeah, I think deep allegiance to pluralism plus deeply pursuing your values and individuating sounds right? Like I wouldn't presume to have the ultimate framing on reality. I think we just keep making progress, right? And I'll commit to a set of values or bets, and the next people will see. Oh, Sheik was like in the right direction in some ways, but this is how we should adjust for next time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Probably.
Be back.
Likely.
Just keep talking. I'll be back in like 2.
Cool.
Okay. Talk to you soon, Simon.
Cool. We could talk about one of the smaller points. So one
Yeah.
thing that I was thinking of, someone asked if I'd be happy if 15 of the people I thought were the coolest just moved to my city, and yeah, people asked me if I'd be happy because I was saying,
Yeah.
oh, I'm doing this because I want cool people around me, because I want an environment that's supportive to my work, and so on. And I paused and I thought, I'm not sure if I would be happy. I'm not sure if there's a fixed number of people that I'd be happy with, and I wondered, do I need a constant influx of new people to like support people leaving and to inject novelty once in a while?
For me, it was institutions. Like, at first, it was that I wanted literally people around me, and then I was like, well, this makes me a lot happier. But then I was like, okay, but what's going wrong? Like, I don't have enough institutions around me, and then
Yeah.
I'm increasingly many institutions, and now, interestingly, I am actually just much more noticeably happy. So that one made a dent on the thing. But now, obviously, I still have more desire, but the desire is like coming from a happier foundation, which is cool. But it's like, oh, now even more institutions, So there's something where like I'm clearly starting to notice that, at least for myself, life seems very much to be about building collections of people, about like building institutions that persist. And maybe even are greater than any of the sums of their parts, such that there's like a ship of Theseus style. It's like you're saying about the influx. It's like the real glorious thing is to build like science, because if you build science, like every single constituent member can cycle out of the idea, and the idea can like not just still persist, but still contribute to the good, basically like forever, which is sick.
Yeah. Simon.
Should I try to be with you? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
We
can hear you.
Sound should be a bit worse, but I should be stable now.
Yeah, I think you're stable. So I was wondering, Simon, how would you use power in the sense that if you had a community with all of us, all of Europot?
That's quite a question. Well, wow, that's such a question. How would I use it? Like, as in, I had the power to...
Or more like, what's it all for, right?
What's it all for?
Yeah, we were thinking, oh, if we were all in the same place, the world would be better, and we would be so powerful together, What would we do?
Yeah, okay. I can give you a bit of also my opening statement here. I was going to make the joke that, of course, the American is like liberty, and it was so predictable. And I thought, and the Iberian is like glory, And I'm like, what should the guy sitting in East Berlin say? Like, what should I say? What do you want me to say? What do you want me to do with the power? It's like, come on. So in a wish to be slightly contrarian, I would say, yeah, industry. Well, I think that's what I'm going to say. The jester in me wants to say nonsense and humor and irreverence, but also I take this as a cool chance to be serious, and I appreciate that about you guys. So let me get serious with you. So my current talking point is basically this. I'm wishing for wealth, at this point, because I think there's in the scene still a lot of wish for doing our life's work, and that means becoming affluent with the hyper-specific knowledge that is fun to impart or to use, right? And I think you're doing that, Andrew, very impressively in New York with Fractal Tech. Great stuff. And I think you're also, building there, Chic. And I have my wish to, what's most personal is most universal kind of thing. I have my wish to I'm looking for the key to the city at the moment, to Berlin. There's a startup scene here, and I'm a great coach and consultant, but I have no, what do you say, like certificates, it came to me in a dream. And I'm trying to basically use this meme seriously and be like, no, I've just studied myself. Everybody that's around me through a crazy internet scene has the most advanced esoteric knowledge that you've ever seen. And you all would be stupid not to plug me into your thing so I can plug the thing into your thing,
Yeah.
and this is sort of my thing that I would like to see replicable wherever you are in Europe, because people are in many places. You're probably in one of the bigger cities, and there's probably some sort of industry. Industry. How are you going to make yourself useful? Like in the asymmetry.
Yeah.
Of
I love this. I love this.
So that's my current bit.
So you would plug teapot wisdom into industry,
because that will make the world a lot better. Because it's like,
right.
I can, and then maybe you guys want to say something. It's like, what is teapot about? In my world, it's about sabbaticalism. Sort of take time off work. And in your mind, Andrew, probably that's what we do all day in Europe anyway, to further the cliches.
I like
and
Europe,
I'm not saying it's not true.
I go there when I'm on vacation.
Yeah. And then the other thing is, if you don't take a sabbatical and take time off work, how about you use a bit more attunement? How about you brute force a bit less? How about you use, semi-esoteric measure? I mean, our friend Emergent has described agile as basically an esoteric measure itself already, and but there's so much more. There's meditation, there's breathwork, and I'm in Berlin where these things are already interacting. And I think if all of the world's industry, if I had all the power, or all of Europe's industry had basically teapot level knowledge, which is, I think, currently, won't be forever, but currently it's cutting edge relative to everything else. We have really old industry and we have cutting edge people. Now, if everybody in teapot manages to get that across and learn how to sell it, and also is confident about it, we would get our pockets full, which would make us very happy because we can hang out a lot together. Because then we can just go on event circuits all year and we can just hang out, work 3 months a year, bum. And all the industry is like, we want more of that.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm looking for. Yeah.
One thought I have is like, teapot isn't cutting edge in knowledge. It's cutting edge in actually a specific domain of knowledge. And I think that domain can be described in a few ways, but metacognition is probably amongst the best core things that we're good at. And then there's like a network of knowledge that's kind of surrounded to this like metacognition concept. In other words, like, we're good at analyzing what we know, we're good at analyzing what we think, we're good at analyzing our feelings, and good at like using that to create what you mentioned, attunement. Obviously, metacognition is highly leveraged in an era where knowledge work is the most powerful and valued type of work. There's like metacognition literally sits above the API with respect to knowledge work. So we have a lot of agency and power there. With AI, it's even better. Like, now we're like literally above the API. Like, you have knowledge too cheap to meter. Like, if you can apply metacognition, you can basically lever up on everything. So one thought that I've had, and Fractal Tech is my first attempt at like getting answers and running a lab to experiment with this, is that Teapot, or like the network as I call it these days, should be developing a model or a form for an economic development corporation. And then those economic development corporations should have embassies like in every major city, and should be collaborating with one another, such that in all these cities there's like kind of an underground devoted to building wealth for first the core members of the EDC and the people they consult with, and then from there cascading out into their city, into their society, into Europe broadly, or in the European Union, and similarly like in the United States, and elsewhere. For anyone listening, like, we love you even if you're in East Asia or Africa or whatever. But
Andrew, do you want to say more, or just briefly, what an economic development corporation is?
Okay, so basically there's this concept in American society, as people often remark on, is very much made out of unions of free people who basically co-organize institutions together and like make them up and invent them. And so like kind of this core aspect of American society throughout history has been that people invent some kind of institution, everyone kind of like volunteers, they sit on a board, they use Robert's Rules of Order, they govern this deliberative assembly, or like assemblies of free men or whatever, in order to serve some purpose for their community or their city. And then this is how we like settled the whole country and built it up. And one of the tools that we built was this economic development corporation, which is basically like you take some free people in your society and you build some sort of membership-based organization. Those members may or may not pay dues depending on how that corporation structures itself. At the beginning, you probably wouldn't even charge dues, and then over time, you'd start to charge dues. Or at the beginning, maybe you could charge dues if you feel like you could ask that value. But both have happened. And then you basically start to gather all of the corporations, local businesses, and people interested in doing business or engaging in the local economy together. You consult with them, you meet with them, you talk to them, and your mandate as a corporation, the mission that your corporation serves, and this is a nonprofit corporation most of the time, is to basically build up the economy, develop the economy. And because Teapot is so good at metacognition, you can also think of Teapot as very good at what you might call like the developmental sciences. And so because Teapot is uniquely good at developmentalism, it makes a lot of sense that we should apply that developmentalism directly onto the economy and then capture a percentage of that value. In the beginning, that might look like an EDC, where the EDC is a nonprofit, does not capture most of the value. And although the EDC might, for instance, take stock in some companies that they help incubate, or it might charge membership dues to corporations that participate, or it might collect donations from those corporations or whatever in exchange for its consult. It might even provide services that are paid and a bunch of free services as well, both. But over time, what the EDC helps people do is it helps generate so much economy that anyone who like works with the EDC or works near the EDC project will likely have jobs available to them, will likely be able to form their own corporation, and will have kind of a tribe of people.
Do you see Fractal Tech as that?
I see Fractal Tech as in a lab in how the network, or like how Teapot can start to bootstrap economy and form EDCs. Yes. Cool. So what we have around the Fractal scene is like we have coaches who help, very much like what you're saying, Simon. Like we have coaches who will like take people in the scene who are currently blocked and like help unblock them emotionally with respect to their work. And at the same time, we have our software engineering course where it's like, hey, do you just want like a really good, well-paying job in New York? Like you can go directly after that. And we have a startup accelerator line where we like help people who are starting their startups like raise rounds if they want to raise, or if they want to be indie, help them make their first sales. The idea is like for almost any different service that a founder or a person who wants to join the economy might want, you can start to provide those services so that Teapot isn't just about sabbaticalism, it's also about the transition, the developmental transition out of sabbaticalism.
That's right. That's what we need.
And Fractal started with the sabbatical thing, for what it's worth. Our first 2 years were all sabbaticalism. And then Fractal Tech is what we started in like our third year, basically.
Guys, this is so sick. Like, I'm already so pleased. Simon, that's such a fucking cool idea. Like, you're in Berlin and you're like, yeah, let's just fucking plug Teapot into the startup ecosystems and whatever other industry. Yeah, man. That reminds me, I wrote a like manifesto that was about unifying science and woo, and I just love seeing you guys touching the other parts of the same elephant. Anyway, I have a question. So we're already kind of touching on this, but someone pointed out in the conversation that we were having that scenes have a failure mode where it becomes more attractive to excite the scene than to help the wider world. And
they have a feature that you mean.
Right, yeah, exactly. So I'm not convinced
this is literally the marquee finding
mode
from my Scenius research. The marquee finding from the Scenius research, like one of the major things that I found in every scene, is that every single scene plays a unique game. They all play unique games. The way that they shape history is that they're playing unique games. If they were playing the regular games that everyone else was playing, then they wouldn't be a Scenius. On the other hand, there's also a bunch of like boring, shitty cults that died that play unique games. And like, don't be one of those, you know? So the challenge is like, play unique games that matter.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. This is great synthesis, because I'm not convinced that that's a failure mode necessarily. And
I mean, you could have critiqued science with the exact same critique. It's like, oh, you guys are more interested in pleasing these like lords and aristocrats than helping the wider world. And it's like, yeah, just straightforwardly, yes, like that's true about us.
And there are good externalities from that.
Yeah, exactly.
There are amazing externalities from that.
Well, and anybody who was paying attention, including a lot of the people who were doing the Royal Society at the time, would say, like, well, not only are we interested in that's one of our interests, but we're also interested in, like, shipbuilding, and we're interested in, like, in industry, and we're interested in mechanisms, you know?
Yeah.
Sheik, you were getting onto something, right? You were...
I was... So this was kind of that point. The second part of the point was that... I don't know. People were referring to this as, because you can definitely play the game of trying to cultivate status in the scene without producing things of value. But I think I think that gets largely solved by just being an activist for keeping the game that's being played pure. Somehow.
Well, whose status do you want to cultivate? Because like you're certainly not getting mine. I know exactly the people who are cultivating status in the scene without delivering value, and I don't respect them very much.
Yeah.
Very good, very good. Yeah, so I'm not as excited about this point. I'm excited about the next one, which is what does all this look like when we're old? And will our children want to pick up the torch? So I can say a bit more. So there are two worlds that I still think we can be in, or not really, but for argument's sake. There's one world where, what's post-rat? What's the network like roughly about? What's post-rat teapot about? And one answer you might give is something like, post-rat teapot at its best is a Western vehicle for wisdom. It integrates, rationalism, left brain, systematic kinds of thinking with an interest in meditation and body stuff and emotions and kind of more esoteric kinds of knowledge, so right brain kind of stuff. And it's populated by friendly, ambitious nerds, right? And this could be the foundation of the ideology of the ruling class in the next 15 years or something crazy like that. Alternatively, it could be a flash in the pan. It could be a thing that's useful for now. It's literally just the rationalists getting an update, getting like a firmware update, and now we're just back to the rationalist tradition, or just return to normie, right? But is it that, or is it a tradition that stands on its own and like that your children will want to sort of practice in some meaningful way? Is it that, or is it return to normie?
Oh, I'm going to make sure that it's the former thing, personally. So, I mean, I guess ask me in 10 years. I don't know yet. I feel like I haven't done anything particularly impressive yet. So there's a lot more work to do.
Nice flex,
question to both of you. Sheik, quote, it could be the, correct me if I'm wrong, could be the defining ideology of the ruling class. Could you explain that to me in a way that it doesn't sound so scary?
Sure. Okay. I'm sorry. I wanted to be inflammatory. I wanted something grandiose.
Bro, I'm also inflammatory. I'm just inflammatory on like the potato level. I'm just like, I'm stupid, guys. I don't know things. You guys are the intellectuals. I just do some stuff.
No. I'm stupid. I'm stupid too.
No.
So
I'm
here's
stupid.
what I mean.
Okay, just so you know.
Here's what I mean. I mean that we have good beams. Like, okay, you want to take the esoteric knowledge and plug it into industry. Well, if you coach the CEOs with teapot knowledge, then the CEOs become teapot, right? And the CEOs are roughly the ruling class, or like close enough. And so, if you have pretty good memes and the memes get adopted by the powerful people, then that becomes like the basis of its ideology, right? Or the whatever ideology comes after sort of has that in its soil, in its roots, has those beams in its roots, right? And that's what I meant. It's like
the goal, though.
Yeah.
Just to simplify things a little bit, and of course this is still a slightly different claim than the claim you're making, but it's like the goal is that the truth becomes a foundation of the ruling class, right? Just the truth, regardless of who presents the truth or which group of people present the truth. It's like I take it that Teapot is still in your view, a post-rationalist project. In other words, a project which views the truth as more important than power.
Yeah, totally. Okay, this is great, actually. This is updating the language I used to think about the topic a bit, actually. Because I think that's exactly right. I think the way I've been phrasing this maybe is like claiming a lot of valor or something. It's like, I'm from the network, I'm post-rat, and my ideas become the foundation for the ideology of the ruling class. And that's not that important. It feels good in the moment. It's like a little bit of vanity, but it's like, are these ideas useful? And if they're useful,
just whatever works will be the foundational ideology of the ruling class. Literally whatever works.
And when you said, but when I prompted you for the explanation, you were like, but we've got the good memes. then now you're very close to what Andrew is saying, which is good memes basically means, well, hopefully they're true. And if not, hopefully they're very strongly approximating the truth, right? They're like at least scratching upwards on truth, right? And like, of course, we are in this pot of tea that cannot currently, like, we're doing our best to always imagine the better memes, right? So like, essentially clawing towards truth. So currently we have to assume that we're pretty up there, right? Like that's what we're doing here, right? Isn't that what we're?
I think again, Sheik, to answer your question, which is like about our kids and the next generation, and is related to your previous question about like, does the scene care more about oppressing itself than about doing good for society or whatever? It's like we will be judged by history based on whether we worked toward true and good ideas. That's what our kids will pick up the true and good ideas. Yeah. So like either we are jerking ourselves off for 50 years and pretending, in which case, no, of course our kids aren't going to work with these ideas. And neither will the ruling class, because like the ruling class actually cares about getting shit done. Or we're uncovering the true and the good and integrating it into the economy, in which case like our kids have no choice but to pick up our ideas, because those are the true ones. I mean, they could live delusional lives instead. And then there's a separate question, which is like, how do you prevent your kids from falling into delusion or whatever? But I think that's a slightly different question than the one that you originally asked.
And I would like to propose to you guys, because we're having a hard hour, and I like to do some timekeeping. Well, maybe we could try to. Maybe it's a tiny bit too early, but just to. It would be great to have a nice answer to the original question, right? That would be quite clean, I thought. You know, it's like, so what about, you know, this is what we're doing. Cool. I think we all sort of agree. It's like, so what's going on in Europe? You know, if we're not all pledging fealty to Andrew right now,
not me.
Here's my blood.
Pick somebody
Rich.
in Europe.
No, Andrew. I have to say, based on our metacognition agreement, that you said Rich, but then in the next sentence you were like, but obviously it's New York. So I have to call you out on that.
I mean, that's okay. That's completely true. That's completely true. That I will say that is an L1 argument for me, not an L2 argument. I could represent both positions, but yeah, at the L1 level, you should join my.
In my eyes, you can take all the L's you want. It's cool. I actually think you should swear fealty to Berlin. No, kidding, of course. No, but
you should make that argument.
No, if you can. Maybe, but. This is the question, right? Like, do we play Civ where eventually somebody is going to be the Kraken that eats it all up? Or, again, repeating what's been said here, is like, do we worship plurality? And where we, have you guys in New York, but we have Europe, and we have good friends, people who like each other, who are building stations across Europe in different ways. And isn't that the big European question right now beyond us? I don't want to put it too far. No, I'm saying. I said, normally I don't want to get so serious, but we're getting serious here. So it's like, no, it's the big European question right now. The question right now is, should Europe have an army? That's crazy. But it's the correct question. And it's like, should we all be one? And if yes, in which way? And in which way do we retain our differences? And that's the European question. I'm hanging out with some Berlin startup people, and they're like, what do you say? Petitioning at the EU for having EU Inc. So you can found a company anywhere in EU that's as easy to found as a Delaware Corp, which is
that's a good idea. That's a very
great idea. It's a great idea. It's a wonderful little piece of technocracy, and so I would like to put up my little idea, which is first of all the homies in Europe should get reasonably loaded or wealthy. No, absolutely true. Because right now, I'm speaking now as Simon, who's like, how do I get 18 tickets sold for 3 weeks? And that's bullshit. 3 weeks should be free.
I agree.
So should be Portal. So should be all Rich Fest. It's like, yes, we can have a little economy going where we ask our homies for their time and their money to come together. But really, that should be a gift, and then you should all be on my yacht that I'm sailing in the North Sea, right? Because you're my homies.
Yeah.
That's obviously what should be happening. And
Seems
we're like,
obvious.
Obviously. And so what I would be, and so I think if we propose that were true, which brings up the question, how do we make that true? Which I think is the real question. But if that were true, how would Europe be looking like? If you ask me, what do you do with all the power, Simon? I say, get all my homies hella wealthy. And then the question really starts, which is like, how do we caravan in a beautiful like circle-like shape through Europe? We get the dope weather in Porto and like whatever great memes that weather and biome brings with you. And then we dodge a little bit the winter in Berlin, but we take it a little bit. And then we like enjoy the great summer in Berlin. And then we go to Rich's house to do this and that. And everything is like a little function. That's its own little thing through which we traverse freely, because we have our best ideas when we're by the sea in Porto, and we're our most ambitious when it's kind of cold in Berlin or whatever, you know? So that's my kind of statement to the actual or answer to the actual question. That's my proposal.
Right. So get loaded and have a caravan circuit through the main European cities.
Yeah, or like multiple ones, right? And like friendlily compete on where we should hang out, but everybody's happy, right? Like we're not, you know, we don't need to put everybody in one place. Like we want to span the continent with different flavors of knowledge, right?
Yeah.
So that's my proposal. Please argue against it. I wanted to go first.
I have arguments, but Sheik, you should go first.
Sure.
Because I'm drawing a diagram to explain my argument.
Cool. Well,
let's go.
To begin with, I feel like you didn't pitch for Berlin, right? You didn't like argue for everyone to move to Berlin, and like personally, I wouldn't do that either. I don't actually think we should all move to the same place. I think everybody who wants to should move next to me, because I'm cool. And
I think the same.
We'd have a great time, and yeah. But that's about it. It's like I want density, right? I want a high density of smart, competent, kind, agentic people, so we can do cool projects, cool research, like build wealth together. Yeah, I'm starting to get pilled on the building wealth together.
I'm glad, because I would love to work with all of you on that. Okay, I'm gonna share my screen.
Let's go.
Let's see it.
Okay, this is what happens when you build 4 different scenes in parallel with exponential growth. And this is what happens when everyone works together to build 4 scenes in serial with exponential growth. If you can actually reasonably get marginal improvements on effort. So like, yeah, if you have too many cooks in the kitchen, like you don't get these serial returns. But if Teapot really does have good metacognition and good ability to work together, the reason to focus on like Rich's scene first, and then Sheik's scene, and then Simon's scene, or Simon's scene, and then Rich's scene, and then Sheik's scene,
very
whatever,
diplomatic of
is
you.
because
Thank you. Yeah.
The goal is to get to this sort of serial outcome, so that first, person A gets a yacht and starts hosting the free events, such that everyone else in the scene can work together to get their yachts and then host their free events. Whereas in this parallel world, we're kind of all learning things at the same time, and nobody is ahead of anyone else, and nobody has like much more wisdom and knowledge and access to resources than anyone else. That can feel nice and fair, but it's also just like much slower. Anyway.
Well, as just a quick comment on this, to agree basically is that we see it right now, because Rich, Jess, and Simon in the year of the Lord 2025 are competing on event attendance. That's
so
happening
true
right now. It's happening right now, and it's not cool. And the vibes are not. There's not great vibes. It's like not the end of the world, but it's not great vibes. So point, for sure.
And I think I love the parallel world personally. Like, I just like it. I like competing. I like the like messiness of the jungle. I like the idea that Teapot kind of stands for like, oh, you know, like it's pretty anarchist out here, and like if you can form an alliance, like you have to do that kind of, on your own independently or whatever. And also, as someone who like wants to see the economic development of the larger projects, like not just Teapot, but like Europe, literally, and the United States of America, I'm sort of like, okay, guys, but we're not actually going to put a dent in this if we like keep playing the game where we compete to have like the slightly bigger everyone gets together in Europe event for the year or whatever. And on the other hand, every event is different. So there's just the core conflict that a second podcast would want to like start to pull apart is which projects are capable of having a cross-nation alliance and which projects need to stay separate because of identity. Like they don't want to be the same. For instance, for me, helping more people build like tech hubs is something that I would love to be as big of a tent as I could make, given that it could conform to like the quality bar that I see as like the minimum in order to do interesting work or something like that. And I think the core thing people in Teapot are struggling with is going all the way back to the original question of like, do we have good memes in the first place? Is this idea of like, well, do we want to host the event together or separately? Because maybe everyone here kind of sucks at hosting events, and actually, like, I'm the only one who's really good at it, or whatever. Like that tension of artistry, I think, is at the core to Teapot's inability to collaborate right now. Sheik, I want to hear this.
Me too.
Yeah, I made this face when you said inability to collaborate because I don't think that's necessarily true.
Sure.
So
yeah, maybe I just mean the bottleneck.
Yeah, coordination super hard, right? Like that's frequently the bottleneck.
Yeah.
So Simon, Jess, and Rich are slightly competing, and there's a world where they're not, because they figure out different ecological functions to serve. I feel like both Jazz Camp and Tree Week, and to some extent, themed weeks at Casa Tilo, they're all serving the hang out with your friends function, and if we wanted to have multiple events, we could have multiple events with different functions, right? You could have the event where everybody goes to do focused work for a month, like we did at Portal last year, and that's kind of different from a week long hang. Or you could do like local neighborhood incubator where everyone's actually testing whether they want to live together long term, or something else. But it feels important. It feels important that the same ecological function is not like repeated, because otherwise you get competition.
Exactly.
Um,
and I would, unless you want to, I think
no, you go.
both Andrew and I did a pretty comprehensive view of, I gave the statement. Andrew sort of added something to it, but I'm very curious about you, Shik, because you're the original question asker. I think before we hit hard out time, I want to hear, your answer to the question, what do we do? And then we can still ramble a bit until there's time, but I'd like to put you on that spot here.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, for sure. How should it look like? What do we do?
What do we do? What do we do? So I think there's some answers that I don't have yet around what is an ideal environment for me look like, because ultimately that's not ultimately, but that's what I'm building for now. That's a prerequisite for doing bigger things, is me having an environment that's pretty close to optimally suited to me doing my work. And my work can be like gardening the scene to get as big as it wants to get, or feels good. We want glory, and glory can be attained through the good, making things better for you and yours. the true, making better predictions about the world, or the beautiful, imprinting your aesthetic sensibilities into the world, making the world more like you want it to be. I'm doing it right now through a research project, and I'm funded for a while. I'm funding for a few years to basically do independent work, like be the captain of my own ship, and build tools that improve our collective ability to figure out what's true and to make decisions together. So I'm building tools to map how ideas spread, right? And since I have this, I get to try running a team, for example, to accomplish goals, and get good at doing that. But yeah, I don't think I'm in a rush to like coordinate something huge and be like, hey, let's fix European industry or something. I think if I can make a really nice ARPA style research environment around me, and it could start as just co-working at my house. That feels worthwhile. Like a really productive intellectual environment, which isn't the same as Tech Hub, and isn't the same as let's consult, let's inject esoteric knowledge into into companies or into industry. It's more like, can we find flow in research and in software development? And yeah, but sorry, that's kind of where my mind has been. And then so I'm doing it from the research side, where it's like a bunch of people just want to work for me, or not a bunch, but like a few, and some of them don't want to get paid, and some of them want to get paid a low amount, and some of them are really good and want to get paid a high amount. But so I have people wanting to do object level work on the sort of institute that I'm starting, and then a bunch of people are moving to Porto because I'm here and we're organizing weekly events, and so like I'm seeing things come together from both directions, but I haven't answered. There's some questions that I haven't answered yet, and that I'm confused about.
Yeah.
Really. I think I'm missing some clarity around why are most of these people here. I can answer the question for the people who come to like work with me, but about the people who come more to hang out, I'm like, yeah, I'm down to hang out, but I don't know, a stronger story would make for a stronger like community, and would make it more reliable that these people stay here and like keep like an engine running. Right?
You should have a story. Like, you should plant a flag for sure. You should have a manifesto. Oh, I one thing I want to just point out as kind of my, I mean, we can keep talking, but like my last comment on the general principle of like what should everyone do is like just returning all the way back to my like the very first sentence I said, which was like, hey, by the way, I think the question is misformed, and actually the world would not be a better place if all these scenes came together. Is like, I know I showed the chart and argued for like this serial, like do one project at a time. I just don't believe in that. It's not something that we believe in Fractal generally, and it's why we called it Fractal from the beginning. Is I think it is the best instinct of us as men and women to believe that we can come together and form unions. I think that is one of the most beautiful things, and also most of the time we can't. You get together and you go to the whiteboard and you whiteboard it all out, and you like try to look at all the configurations, and you're like, guys, surely there's a coordination here. And I think after you lay it all out on paper, you're like, oh, I guess we're just optimizing for different things, and this isn't possible. And if you stop believing in your ability to kind of form a joint venture or to form a union, then you lose out on a huge amount of wealth that you could have gotten from coordinating. And yet, most of the time, when you actually like unpeel the layers of the onion and look for the coordination, you won't find it, because underneath it, there's just a bunch of different competing concerns. Like, would your ARPA research project, actually benefit from being in Barcelona? Would it benefit from being in Berlin? Like, if it would, yeah, maybe move it there. My instinct is like, that you're probably trying to optimize for some thing. And for that reason, what we need to do is in every single location share as much knowledge as we possibly can, and across all these events. Like, you're right that it's messed up that Tree Week and Jest Camp and Rich Camp are all competing in a sense. And also, maybe if you all tried to coordinate, like, one question is like, have you actually tried to coordinate? Like, have you tried to come together and build a co-event? And then, but then if you have and that didn't work, it's sort of like, oh, maybe that's how things have to be. And like, we need to get better at doing the parallel thing too, you know?
Yeah. I would like to answer to both things a little bit. One is what Andrew just said, coordination, and very fair question. And we haven't as well as we maybe could have. But this is also the first year where it feels a bit, yeah, these are the same people, the same resources. We shouldn't, and then it feels a bit weird. And then for me, very obviously right now, the answer is what Sheik said earlier, which is like, we should just have clear positionings that are different from each other, which is very, what might that be? Is that an economy forming? A normal? Right? Okay, right. And then to Sheik, I really enjoyed, thank you for your earnest sharing and sort of getting lost a bit in the sauce. Very enjoyable, very earnest in my opinion. And what is the thing, And like, for me, I know why I'm in Berlin. I came to Berlin from London in a sort of loveless world that I saw in London. And then I said, I will find home and love in Berlin. And now I'm together with the wonderful woman, and we were just, had our 2-year anniversary. And she just moved here in with me. And her parents only live 2 hours away across the border in Poland. And I know exactly the sort of corridor in which I will settle when I leave this apartment. And, I would love to be on holiday with the homies in Porto and wherever, 3 to 4 to 5 months out of the year. But I know where I will be. So the grandparents of our many healthy children will be able to see them on many days of the year also. And there's just, you can throw ARPAs and schmarpas and yachts and stuff at that.
So true.
It's just not going to change anything. It's just not, this is just, so this is hereby, I have a flag to plant for you guys. And it's my family. And to report just one little thing, and that I'm happily closing on that. I can report from some other homies in Berlin, like the incubator crew and stuff. Everybody is the key thing everybody's talking about is, where are we moving to together-ish to raise our children? Bro, that's a coordination problem and a half. That's a crazy thing. It feels impossible. I think we're somehow going to do it. So, and I'm like the guy who says, but also let's make some dough. So, while we still have time. So that's my Berlin. Now I'm arguing for Berlin. That's why we're here. Can tell you to come, but you can't come if you want. We're pretty cool. Yeah.
You should go to Berlin.
I wanna.
If you're listening.
I wanna make a pitch. I think I wanna make a pitch because I was earnest, but I didn't like pitch.
Okay. Pitch
Porto.
us.
Yeah. So I've done this before at the Fractal bootcamp thing, like accelerator thing. Anyway, I think one cool thing about Porto, besides being beautiful and being cheap and the food being great and being safe and the transportation being amazing and everybody speaking English and a bunch of people having kids, I think Porto. And being really walkable. You can go anywhere in like 30 minutes, like 45 at max, but on foot. My pitch for Porto right now is, Portugal feels like home, and I probably don't want to settle anywhere else other than Portugal. Porto is where I am now. Porto is not that big, and that is an advantage. Probably you trade less novelty and less of an influx of people for an ability to do focused work, and that's what I'm doing, and that's what I'm moving people here to do. Either do focused work with me, on frontier ideas or do their own focus work. And that's the pitch for now. Also, we have a bunch of expats and people with money and some people with not as much money, and people are having kids. So it's a really good place to have kids as well. And it's got a good art scene. And Portugal's got a bunch of, like, really a lot of intentional communities. So you get the garden, you get communities about really involved with contact improv and circling and just permaculture type stuff. Anyway, yeah, there's a wider ecosystem. I'm here. Look at this face. And that's the best pitch I could give right now.
I love it. If you're listening to this, you should go to Porto.
All right,
Anyway,
friends.
this podcast is about European teapot, so I won't give a pitch for New York. But
Yes,
I think New York gives enough of a pitch for itself.
I think so.
Oh my goodness! How could he? Any last smart words, Andrew? I really enjoyed everything you guys said. So this has been I feel very
My
enriched.
final comment is just we should clearly help each other get rich. So
Right.
maybe another podcast on that topic
Let's
and
do
another
podcast
conversation in the
too.
little group chats about that podcast or about
Yeah.
that topic would be great. How can
Yeah.
all of
Yes.
the teapot nodes get rich?
Yeah,
Yes, I would love that. Let's talk about that.
let's
Okay.
talk about that, and let's have it be more than let's get everyone software jobs.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
that will be one of my suggestions, to be clear.
Of course.
Just because
I will hold up the consulting flag, and we'll figure
we
that
are
one out.
consulting makes a lot of sense. Like we're the metacognitive culture. I think
Yeah.
software makes sense. I think consulting makes sense.
Yeah.
And
Founding a
research.
business makes a lot of
We-
sense. Research
We
makes
have a
sense.
trifecta here, so
Yeah,
let's
I'll
talk about that next time.
I'll hold up the begging for money in cool ways. It's like,
Hey, I think that's one of the coolest skills
Well-
ever. I respect the shit out of that.
I think that's a good skill, but I'm not sure you get rich that way. I think you make like a researcher salary that way.
Rich enough.
like it's seed funding to
Yeah.
make money being your whole self.
Yeah.
What if we
No,
phrase it like
I think I completely agree with you. Many such cases in teapot. Okay.
that? Sweet.
All right.
Thank you so much, guys. I
Thanks,
think we
it was
have a
great.
great
Enjoyable
podcast.
conversation, gents. Bye,
Yes.
everyone.
Yeah.